Hello, and welcome to another episode of Broadcast Gaming Talk. This is the fourth part of my reading of Gameinformer's Pokemon Sword and Shield article, and so let's jump right into it. Going to Galar. Concepts for what is now known as Pokemon Sword and Shield began floating around during the development of Pokemon Sun and Moon, but it wasn't until the media tour for those games that things started to click into place. While touring the world in the lead-up to the release of 2016's Sun and Moon, Game Freak co-founder and Sword and Shield producer Wanichi Masuda became fascinated by London in the UK. I remember being there with the feeling of the country, and I was also looking at the history and the strength the country has. That inspired me to base the region off of that, he says. Masuda and Omori began kicking around ideas for a region inspired by the UK. To brainstorm, the team turned internally to an invaluable asset, James Turner, who had been designing Pokemon since the 5th generation of the series. While he now resides in Tokyo to work at the Game Freak headquarters, he grew up on the British countryside. Through his time at Game Freak, the team spoke highly of the UK, but it was never in serious consideration to be a region for a game. However, at a certain point, Turner began picking up on some hints that his home country might be in the running. I was working on a different project, and they were beginning development on what would become Sword and Shield, and I would hear from people working on it. We have some things we want to ask you about. We need your opinion on something. And I'd be pulled away from what I was doing, he says. It became pretty clear they were thinking about England and they wanted my opinion about the English countryside or the culture and stuff like that. Eventually the quick questions about England became inquiries about him joining the team for the next Pokemon game. When it was revealed the studio was planning a region called Galar based on the UK, Turner's brain kicked into overdrive thinking about what in the UK could translate into a Pokemon game and what should be highlighted. Turner was named art director for the project, and he began making a list of what he hoped to accomplish with the design of the new region. Having grown up away from the major cities, he knew the importance of making the countryside just right. The greenery of the countryside, the patchwork farmlands, that's a really beautiful aspect. This pretty small towns and the big cities as well, they can be really impressive. I wanted to get that across in the game. In addition to getting the beauty of the rolling hills and the impressive nature of the cities across, Turner wanted to bring a level of authenticity to the region beyond just the landmarks everyone knows from postcards. I also wanted to convey the small details that people who come from the UK or people who just visit the UK a lot, they can look at them and feel familiar, and it doesn't feel like a rough interpretation, but something that is really true to the details, he says. One example of Turner helping the studio accomplish this came with signboards scattered across the region. Initially, the designer of the signboards used a medieval fantasy style for the signs. Turner rejected the design in favor of pursuing something more authentic to the real-life region. He pushed the team to create something more familiar to people who have been to the UK, recreating the kinds of fonts and color schemes used in the actual signs in Britain. Despite the push for authenticity in the Galar region paying homage to the UK, Turner understands players want variety and exaggerations. It is based on the UK, but there are more colorful locations as well within the game to create a sense of adventure, he says. And that's the end of part 4. That's all I have to say, so thanks for listening, and goodbye.